I'm Sue. I'm one of the counsellors at New Life, and I'd just like to welcome you to this short presentation where we're just looking at this idea of resilience and what it is to build it or to nurture resilience as you may be approaching some form of IVF treatment, whether it's fertility preservation with egg freezing or IVF treatment. When you think about the word resilience, what happens? Do you sort of crunch down and go, yuck, that word feels really pressured and, you're going to doubt, or does it inspire you? I've had my own different responses to that word over the years, and in working with this topic in different fields of psychology, I really appreciate that many people have a reaction to this word. What I just want you to consider is that resilience can be a quality that we can engage in ourselves through skills and through routines and through a really gentle and supportive relationship to ourselves. And just want to highlight that some recent research in the IVF world has really identified that resilience can be a really protective factor whilst going through treatment. So I just want to pause for a minute and get you to think about, how would you define resilience for yourself? And even think about a time in your life where, you got through it because of those skills and qualities of resilience. I'm sure there's something there that you can remember right now that just reminds you of some of those qualities, and that might help engage with this word and this sort of way of being as you approach some, important treatment steps ahead of you. There is definitely some misconceptions about resilience, and I really want us to let go of them, in a sense, if you might be holding them. And that's the sense that it's about being really tough, being sort of superwoman or super person or super being. It's about pushing through, sort of gritting down and tightening up and just, smashing through it. Mental toughness, it's a word that's used a lot, particularly if you've worked in the corporate world. It's about not showing vulnerability, emotion, and it's about not stopping. It's about sort of just hanging in there until you get to the other end. And this can actually be quite dangerous if that's the type of resilience that's been encouraged in the world that you've grown up in, or is promoted in that way. It can actually be a really danger and risk to our mental health. Our actual capacity to be resilient can lead to burnout and definitely increase the stress response in our body. So what's exciting is that there's some really great recent Australian teams in different walks of life across the psychology mental health world that are providing some very inspiring, holistic and really practical insights into what supports resilience. The first one is the Resilience Project. You might have heard of it. It's been around for quite a while. It's a team of Victorians, one of them being Hugh Seilenberg. Sorry, his name I can't quite always pronounce properly. He's from the Resilience Project. And he and a team work a lot in schools and across organisations and through the mental health world. And he defines resilience as being about these three qualities of being, but they're also skills and they're also behaviours and ways of interacting in the world. And this is gratitude, empathy and mindfulness. And what's important about gratitude is that it can be a really important counterbalance to the tendency in our minds to focus on the negative. There is actually a strong negative bias in all our nervous systems and brains. And so the practice of gratitude and appreciation and noticing even the most smallest of moments that have been encouraging or supportive of you during a day, or something beautiful in what you were exposed to during the day, or something kind, just noticing and paying attention to it activates more of the positive elements of our awareness, and that can be a really helpful counterbalance to the tendency of the strong negative bias that we have. Empathy, the practice of empathy, focusing on empathy, fosters deeper connections. And when we do that, we get beautiful bursts of oxytocin into our body. And again, that's another really valuable counterbalance to the stress hormones that can be really understandably activated through egg preservation treatments and IVF treatments. And of course, everyone is hearing about mindfulness. And I suppose what I want to focus on here around mindfulness is that, again, it's a counterbalance to what I was just describing before about the old ideas of resilience, which is sort of not noticing our vulnerabilities, about pushing through, whereas mindfulness is really about providing really kind, gentle, non-judgmental, present awareness to what is happening. And that what is happening can be your internal experience and listening to ourselves and starting to be curious about it more than reactive to it. And it can also be about being present to what's also allows us to draw us into the everydayness of our well-being in our life. And that can be very helpful too as a counterbalance to the stress response and some of the worries and fears we have. So here are 3 ideas that, definitely here at New Life, we can, as a counselling team, can really explore with you ways to engage in those practices in an everyday way regularly. The other wonderful team that have developed quite a comprehensive idea about some of the attitudes and skills of resilience is a team in Queensland, a team of neuroscientists who have got some really good evidence-based research around some important ways of practicing and engaging in routines and behaviours and thinking that really supports a resilient way of being in the world. And it's called the PR6, which really has 6 domains. I'm just going to pause here for a minute so that you can just have a quick study of it. What you might notice at the very top is vision. And vision, they argue, is really important as the first sort of primary step when we really are having to engage in resilience. It's being able to really be clear about your goals, your values, the purpose, and that everything you're doing aligns with it. So when it comes to treatment, that's pretty clear. There are some very clear goals about why any couple, individual are engaging in treatment here at New Life, whether it's for egg preservation or fertility preservation or IVF. But also values can be helpful to look at in terms of how you approach things. So we have values that are about the end goal, but also we can have values about the how. How do I want to approach this time in my life? How do I want to look after myself? So, vision is really important as a starting point for resilience. The other 5 move around from the top around to just like a clock. So the next is composure, which is all about what are the qualities and skills and practices that really help me calm and regulate my nervous system, help me feel more in control, help me become more emotionally aware, and help me manage my stress. So the skills of composure really support resilience. The next is reasoning, which again is about that introspection, that reflecting on the way we're thinking. Sometimes we need to engage in writing things down or talking it through with someone, but what helps strengthen my reasoning? The third one is health, and many of the resilient models now really ensure that they identify that health and our sort of health behaviours, our health hygiene, are really critical for good resilience. Having enough sleep, having good quality sleep, exercising regularly, nutritional habits that really support our well-being and our health, and having goals in that area too, a really important part of strengthening and supporting our resilience. The other one is tenacity, which I think is already an incredible quality that I see in so many people that come through IVF treatment. There is already tenacity, so I'm not going to labour on that one too long. I think everyone really shows that, but tenacity is definitely an element of resilience. And the other area that I think is really important is, and it was also identified in that previous slide that I spoke about, and again, it's about relationships, how we collaborate with our clinical team, with our nurses, with everyone that's supporting us through treatment, but also in your extended world, Who are your support networks? Who makes you feel connected? How are you nurturing that yourself? These are really important topics. And I know that changes sometimes for women and families and couples as they're going through treatment. So, yeah, sometimes we have to think very carefully about what are those collaborative, supportive relationships that really nurture me through this time, and how can I look after them? So, yeah, I just have introduced these two topics, or two slides that really relate to this idea of resilience. And finally, I want to just acknowledge that hopefully this area of exploring resilience and introducing some ideas about the sorts of behaviours and attitudes and skills might be something that really inspires you to explore and think about in terms of supporting your resilience at this time. It does involve self-care, attention to our foundational routines, and it's about positive connections. And that New Life, as a counselling team, are here to support you in any way we can. Thank you.